Joining me for all the chat for the next couple of hours, Conservative commentator Benedict Spence. Good morning once again to you.
Hello, how are they?
Hello. How are things? I mean,
have they got better in the last hour?
Have they got looking around? Not
no,
so
I'm still
good.
Here.
Yeah, he is still here.
Sorry about that.
Here. I mean, it is absolutely mind-blowing. We've got the issue. We've still got Ukraine. We've still got what's going on in Iran. No one seems to be helping those protesters. We have got basically possibly NATO crumbling before our eyes, with the US threatening Greenland. We've got this Gaza border of peace, which, let's put Putin and Blair on it. That'll make things better there. All that stuff happening overseas. But we've got big problems at home, of course. We've got, as we're talking about, the welfare bill spiralling. We've still got massive uncontrolled illegal immigration. No one plans to do anything about the levels of net migration legally that we've had in terms of those people who are still here. We've got an NHS in absolute chaos and crisis. People even elderly people, even in the 80s, being put on trolleys in corridors for two days at a time. Even we've got our government kowtowing to the Chinese, giving them an embassy in return for, please let me come on a visit and let us have a new embassy in Beijing and stop turning the water off in our embassy in Beijing. I kid you not, giving away the Chagos Islands to the Chinese-controlled Mauritians and then paying for the privilege. I mean, we've got net zero. I mean, literally, I could do the whole 2 hours on this. We've got Ed Miliband, the net zero insanity secretary, saying, let's spend 15 billion quid subsidising people to get solar panels made in China, by the way, using coal-fired energy, coal-produced energy, and then heat pumps, which even when they're subsidised to the tune of £7,000 by you and me, the taxpayer, under this plan, are still going to cost twice as much. And a small matter, don't actually heat your home. I mean, and yeah, we've got local elections being called off because, of course, Nigel Farage, according to Lisa Nanny, would be the fascist, but not the Labour government calling off elections for almost 4 million people because basically they're going to lose them. I don't think things are going very well, Benedict.
I mean, the coffee machine in this place still works, so, thank God for small miracles.
I'd like to point out that it's got 5 different buttons for different types of coffee, and they are all identical when they actually come out.
It produces
just throwing
coffee.
that out
It
there.
produces something that is almost entirely, but not quite, unlike coffee. It's great. I'm very happy about that.
That's your cheery.
Hey, last year everybody was accusing me of being downbeat. I'm trying to look for the positives here. Okay, yes, lots of things aren't particularly great. Which would you like to start with? The Chinese embassy? Iran? Would you like to start with Donald Trump menacing the entire continent of Europe?
You're
or
the
Putin
audience.
Doing it?
You decide. Where should we start? 344 499 1000. Look, I mean, the question we're asking our audience today is that Donald Trump has told Keir Starmer to straighten out Britain. Says London has a lot of problems. I'm asking everyone's reaction to that. I'm going to play the clip and then I'll read you the numbers. If you haven't heard this, because I don't know how many people could sit through at 6 o'clock in the evening, 2 hours of a Donald Trump White House press briefing. But asked about his relationship with Keir Starmer, after criticising Keir Starmer yesterday, and also his relationship with Emmanuel Macron as well. This is what Donald Trump had to say.
They get a little bit rough when they're, when I'm not around, but when I'm around, they treat me very nicely. And, I like both of them. They're both liberal. They've got to straighten out their countries. You can't, London is having a lot of problems, and if you look at Paris, got a lot of problems. They have 2 problems, immigration and energy. They got to stop with the windmills, and they got to go back like UK has an unbelievable asset called the North Sea. Norway uses it, makes a fortune. They have a better section of it, and they don't do it.
I mean, the only thing that's not correct about that, Benedict, is that we've only got 2 problems, the immigration and the windmills. I want to know your reaction to this. Give us a call, 0344 499 1000. Text the word talk in your message to 87222. Get in touch with us on X at talkTV. Lots of you already doing that. And calls are charged at a national rate, of course. Text cost 1, standard network rate message. What do you make of all that?
I mean, it's the first thing, of course, is we have to say, as much as, yes, there are many problems with London as a city, then every single city in the United States has huge problems. I mean, New York's just elected an actual communist, not like a city current communist, but an actual communist.
New York is in a terrible state.
Yeah, it's in a disastrous situation, and everybody knows what's going on with places like Minnesota and the
whole of California.
Yeah, the fact that they're having to send in agents to sort of round people up to deport them because they're there that long, and that local authorities are saying, please come and stay because we hate Donald Trump and all of that nonsense. But when it comes to the overarching issues, let's be very clear here. The United Kingdom should be one of the wealthiest nations on earth when it comes to energy production. We are not. The United States, meanwhile, is going gangbusters. It's now, I think, the pound for pound, the world's largest fossil fuel producer. And, you know, that kind of gives you...
Certainly the major exporter.
Yeah, and that gives you an idea of the different directions that we're going in. Our neighbours, places like Norway, which, of course, Donald Trump name-checked, is making a lot of money from that energy that we could be doing, even though if we decided...
we buy Norway's energy.
But do you know who else's energy? Do you know who else's energy we also buy? There's another country that's quite close to us that, you know, however many years ago decided it was going to double down on a form of clean fuel, the different sort, nuclear power.
France.
That's France. France is doing fantastically well. One of these two options we could have gone for. We could have gone for both. We could have had a mix of the two. We decided not to go through either. So we decided to have the windmills and the solar panels in one of the worst places on earth to have solar panels. And
loads of sun out there today. Loads of sun outside that grey window.
Lo and behold, our energy prices are through the roof. And then
I think you'll find that Ed Miliband says that's because we are the victim of, you know, international gas markets.
He's a half.
It's absolute nonsense.
Explain to me then, if we made our own gas and it would still be as expensive as everyone else's because, you know, we're subject to the international market, why is France's and Denmark's and Norway's and all of those countries, why is theirs lower?
Oh, you
Ed,
stop with your facts and your logic, Benedict. You know he doesn't listen to that. He's a net zero fantasist.
Two numbers next to each other, our number and the other country's number. If he was right, they'd both be the same, but they're not. And it's strange. It happens for every single country, Ed. Why is that? Honestly, Rishi Sunak was right about needing more maths education in this country because the energy secretary doesn't have a clue how to count.
He genuinely scares me. We were talking on it. I did actually watch some of his interviews in various different media this morning. I like to, as I scout around in the morning, to see what everyone else is talking about. And I do find he does talk a lot more sense when he's just got the sound off. But you can see how messianic he is. And he, like Keir Starmer, really shares that whole, how dare you question me? How dare you? And I'm telling you right now, hand over fist, I know probably 100 times more than him about energy policy in this country, and I know nothing about energy policy in this country.
All he knows about is an ideology, and he is one of the few people still chained to that ideology who will not relent.
Still Keir Starmer's fault. He's the Prime Minister. It's up to him.
Of course he is, and you should get rid of him. But the problem is, of course, Keir Starmer is a weak Prime Minister. He can't afford to continue to upset everybody in his party, because every time he does that, it gets slightly closer to the edge. We all know that he's done, but he doesn't want it to be done yet.
Do you think anyone's told him? I think he reads the front pages and knows that it's all over.
Do you know what happened to the Portuguese fascist dictator Salazar when he had a stroke in his 70s, and they all thought he was going to die, and so they appointed a new government, and then he actually didn't die. He came out of his coma and he could sort of function but not quite, and everybody was so scared of him that they couldn't dare to tell him that he
wasn't leader anymore.
So they actually created a fake cabinet for him, and they used to give him papers and stuff to sign. Only half of his body worked, and he wasn't entirely all there, but for a good 2.5 years
we've had worse prime ministers.
He believed he was still the leader of Portugal. That's genuinely happened.
This is what we should do.
He's not had a stroke yet, he's just dull.
This is what we should do. Let's just tell Keir Starmer and Ed Miliband, no, you're in charge. We'll let you go and do TV interviews. They'll think it's going live, but it'll be in a side studio.
Yeah.
They'll be absolutely... We'll let you go in Parliament, and we'll all play along, and we'll just put someone competent in charge. I'm sorry, guys.
It'd be really funny.
I think this may be the solution to all our problems.
Absolutely, we should. That's what, honestly...
Let's start a petition.
Absolutely. Why not do that? Whilst we're sort of refurbishing Parliament, we'll build a new Parliament next to the old one, and we can put him there, and he'd just dodder around.
I mean, to be fair, we've had fake government for years. We were in the EU because we had a puppet Parliament for years as is. Do you like see what I did there?
Yeah.
Keir Starmer being told to fix his country. I mean, I don't think he's going to be listening to Donald Trump. He's not even going to be in Davos. Should he be going to Davos, given that we knew a year ago that Donald Trump, having been inaugurated, he said in a Zoom address, which I mean, the usual ramblings to Davos last year, that he said he would be there in person. When the most powerful man in the world is going to be in Davos, when a load of other senior world leaders, the Macrons, the Carneys and all of that, by the way, a lot of them, Starmer's big liberal mates. Why of all these times is our Prime Minister not there when he goes when just Belgium and Mozambique go? I know he gets a lot lot of beef for you're always out of the country, and he did that interview famously. And I've never seen him look happier or keener about anything. I've said Mrs. Starmer, Lady Vic, she would absolutely love it if he ever spoke with such enthusiasm about her. Where do you prefer to be, Davos or Westminster? He went, oh, Davos. And he looked at the interviewer as if they were insane to even ask the question. And he wasn't talking about loving a nice skiing trip, you know.
Yes, no, of course.
He, like you say, he likes being around those people, not us bigoted, you know, hoi polloi, ignorant British voters, Brexiteers, God forbid. But this is the one time he should be there.
He should. And, you know, I know people like to sort of scoff at Davos and the World Economic Forum, and, you know, there's lots of conspiracies about it, but actually it is a point at which lots of people do go and meet, and you're not having to go through the weird rigmarole of the UN giving the speeches that nobody listens to or any of that sort of thing. There is a lot of stuff that does actually get done.
Have you ever been?
To Davos, not to the actual conference. I might have been to Davos for other reasons. Davos is great, by the way, but not for that reason.
Could any of us afford Davos?
I was only there for a day.
Yeah, so no. The answer was no.
Looking around going, this is jolly nice, isn't it? I see why they all come here. It is an important forum, ultimately, and that's because important people do go there. Whether or not we like that that's how business is done, that is how business is done. And so actually, yes, I am sort of sat here going, why of all years, to all the fora that you could go to, are you not going?
He's not there because he's been told off for being abroad all the time, which he constantly is anyway. There was that talk of of Macron wanting this G7 hastily convened summit on Thursday. It doesn't look like that's happening. But Donald Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, has said he's going to be meeting Putin. We don't know where tomorrow. We don't know what Donald Trump is going to say in Davos today, but I think a little bit more of the same. When he was asked about, you know, where he was on Greenland, you know, he said, you know, he was asked how far he would go to take it from Denmark. He said yesterday, "You'll find out."
Yeah.
Do you think we will find out?
I don't think we'll necessarily find out today. I think you can never predict exactly what Donald Trump is going to say. You can never predict which direction he's going to walk in. At some point, I suspect he's actually going to row back on all of this once he's given a preferential access deal to Greenland or some sort of arrangement, a bit like with, you know, the British having to sort of lease Hong Kong and then give it back at some point. There will be some sort of agreement where the US has effective control, which, to be honest, it already does have a lot of control. Well, this is the thing. It just wants more. He wants that for his legacy.
Is there an element where, with all of this, Donald Trump has done us all a bit of a favour in Europe, which is, you know, I don't mean EU, but in Europe as a continent, a bit of a wake-up call, because they didn't listen in 2018 when he, in his first term, said, and I remember sitting there on the hand, and we going, you know, we don't spend enough, and we can't defend ourselves, and we're not, and he shouldn't have to commit to NATO if countries were not committed to their basic minimum requirement of spending 2% of their GDP. Even we weren't doing that in real terms on defence. They all laughed at him. I remember saying at the time, but he's right. Thank God. You know, I was not a fan of Donald Trump at the time, but he was right. And when he says things like right, we should absolutely accept it. When he says, you know, like, you know, basically Americans have been funding defence, and frankly, it's not our problem anymore. We're interested in the Americas. Our sphere of influence is, you know, the Atlantic, the Pacific. We don't need you. We're not bothered anymore. Now, I think that's actually long-term wrong, because I think actually Europe and America acting together are much stronger.
Yeah.
They are greater as one. But he's quite right that we can't defend our own continent, Ukraine, can't defend Greenland, part of Denmark, therefore part of NATO. We can't do it, and we did need that wake-up call. Do you think there's any possibility that our leaders will actually wake up? I mean, the Poles, they've woken up. They're well on it. The Germans have woken up. They've barely had any defence. I mean, they said, you know, I mean, for goodness sake, when Ursula von der Leyen was defence minister of the German government, they once sent German troops out on exercises. They had so few guns, they had to use broomsticks. As their guns. I kid you not. A major economic powerhouse nation, a G7 nation, and they didn't have enough guns for military exercises.
I mean, so I heard somebody the other day refer to Europe as the Soviet Union, but with inherited wealth, and that therefore it's able to keep the fantasy going a little bit longer, and it's not aware yet that things have broken down to a really catastrophic point.
We still think that we're president.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the thing. At some point, because of the sort of the national differences, as you sort of allude to there with countries like Poland, those are beginning to pull apart. Hungary is another good example, although it's not really wealthy or powerful enough to actually effect any change, just talks about it. But that is the direction, which is that now Europe is starting to go in different directions because it realises the thing itself, the edifice, isn't working. Not everybody will pull in the same direction, and so you need to look to your own interests. But it's ironic that at this exact moment is when Europe funnily enough, needs to A, pull together, and B, have some sort of concerted effort to defend itself and look into its own interests. This is the irony of the European project. It talks about itself as some sort of superpower, but it has no intention of being that superpower.
And that's related to the net zero issue, it's that defence, and it's also, and again, something, you know, Brendan and Neil touched on earlier about, you know, our sense of self, our, you know, the self-flagellation and the you know, telling all of our children, oh, you've all got some sort of disability or anxiety, and you know, you don't have to go to work, and just this whole sort of just defeatist giving up attitude, which is very different from the Americans.
Again, though, having had Brexit and had the opportunity for Brexit dividends, one of which is, you know, autonomy when it comes to things like defence, we have not really acted, you know, energy being another one. We have the opportunity, funnily enough, to help drag Europe in the right direction by being outside of its rules and therefore being able to showing other countries what could be possible.
I think we were massively impacted by you know, COVID and then the Ukraine war.
Sure.
I think that just took everything off track.
That's true. But right now, we can still go, OK, that's rubbish, but we can draw a line under that.
Not under Starmer, we can't. He's tying us.
Ideologically, our politicians are not at that point yet. The voters are far ahead of them in a different direction. It's one of the funny things about, you know, people talking about, you know, what reform are going to bring. Reform are behind a lot of the voters on a lot of things, and actually they're very cautious. And you hear this about Farage saying, oh, carefully now, you're not going to like what's going to come after me if I don't get my way.
Like mass deportations.
Yeah, because actually the public is shifting in a certain direction faster than the politicians are, certainly faster than the Westminster.
Well, they live in the real world.
They will get there at some point. The question is, how much do they want to drag their heels into this? Britain, as an independent nation outside of that, has the power to move faster than much of Europe, but it has to actively choose to do that. It's not just going to happen by itself. Yeah,
absolutely. Let's talk about the Chinese super embassy just across the river. In fact, apparently Donald Trump has been, you know, he's been critical of the Chagos Islands. I imagine they'd be fairly critical of the Chinese super embassy as well. MI5, MI6, going to be talking to Richard Dearlove, former MI6 boss, at midday, and he's certainly, a bit later than that, he certainly thinks there are massive security risks here. But don't worry, Keir Starmer's got his trip to China next week. We knew perfectly well this was a quid pro quo. If we didn't approve the Chinese super embassy, absolutely he wouldn't get that trip to China. He thinks he's going to do some amazing trade deal. He ain't going to do an amazing trade deal. If he does, it's going to be amazing for China, but not for us. All it's going to involve is them selling us more cheap stuff made using coal and often slave labour, and we're going to go, oh, thank you very much.
Well, given that they're building this super embassy just across the river, I would like to place on record my staunch support for everything that Beijing has done for us. I think it's a wonderful trade partner. I think that the one China policy is the right one. Taiwan should not have its own independence, and okay, are they still there?
They're still listening.
This is London, so it's not going to get built on time. So I think we've still got a couple of years. Yeah, this is, of course, one of the funny
there's going to be legal challenges, and the hope is, of course, that we can get another government in by the time those legal challenges still going and just go not happening.
This is one of the very funny things, which is that actually the Chinese have been complaining just the length of time that this takes, and then they're looking at the planning processes.
They'd have built 5 airports by now.
Yeah, it would have been built yesterday. It would have been done in 48 hours. They'd have done it very quickly, again, with slave labour and dodgy resources.
But one of the things I find extraordinary is we say we want to build a new embassy. We could promise our embassy in Beijing, apparently. Oh, diddums to the poor Foreign Office staff. And as in a tit for tat, the Chinese have cut off the water to the embassy. I mean, I'm sorry, at that point you withdraw all your diplomats.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you just don't part. We're just embarrassing.
But this is the nonsense.
Britain, I know, wouldn't part with that.
Yeah, this is the nonsense about, following the rules-based international order, which has never been a thing. Most countries do, in fact, behave this way. They act like bullies because they're run by bullies, and that's how the world is always run. It's only us, muggins here, our civil servants that sit here and go, oh, well, we must literally kowtow to the Chinese, or we won't get what we want, which is running water. What a load of nonsense.
No, absolutely. Let's just talk finally, before we go to a break, about Reform UK getting a go-ahead for a legal challenge against Labour's plan to cancel local elections in May. But up to 4 million people are going to miss out because there's the reorganisation of district and county councils. Apparently, among the many things that prove the incompetence of our bureaucrats, not just in Whitehall but across the country, is apparently they can't organise an election. I mean, seriously, it's sending out ballot papers and having some people in pubs and local offices for people to come and vote. It's not. I'm pretty sure I could organise it for you guys, and they're basically saying, we can't go ahead with these elections. People are going to miss out for some 2 years. Sorry, trying not to sneeze while I'm joking. Apologies. But even the Speaker, Lindsay Hoyle, has said Apologies.
You're just allergic to the inadequacy of our local authorities.
I'm allergic to attacks on democracy. That's not I mean, it's an absolute outrage. If Sir Lindsay Hoyle, you know, he's saying these elections should go ahead.
Yeah.
But they've got a hearing next month. I think it should be, you know, next week, personally.
These things should go ahead. Of course they should. That's what our system is ostensibly founded on. But let's be clear here. If these are people who can't fill in potholes, why should we be surprised that they don't want to actually deal with the mobilisation of millions of people across the country to vote and then count the votes?
I tell you what, we should just tell them, if every single local election you organise, you get to have another rainbow-painted zebra crossing. Oh, they'd absolutely... You could wear another pride flag. They'd organise it then.
Lanyards for everyone.
Lanyards for everyone, absolutely. I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of that. 0344 499 1000.